about 2 pages to go in our booklet looking at witches. So last lesson we've seen this kind of sexy Halloween vibe of witches is much more of a modern Western interpretation, focusing really on just being hot, right? But really it's a long way from the witches in Macbeth, like that. So let's keep rolling. We did look, that's really an artist's interpretation of the 3 witches that are in this play. You can see they're not that hot Halloween version, right? They're quite hideous. And you'll hear in the play too, when we start that today, that they're described at the start of the play having their fingers on their lips like this. Exactly. So 300 years ago, witchcraft we said, was a crime punishable by death. 45,000 women and men were executed across Western Europe. Who was obsessed with witches? Let's talk, people, listen up. King James, absolutely, King James, right? So he writes a book called what? Demonology, published in?
1605.
Oh, great guess. 1605 is the play. Demonology comes out when? Archie, you know this. When did Demonology come out?
Oh,
dude, now's your moment.
I don't know.
It's 15 something.
97?
Yes, mate. That's what I was like, Archie, this is your moment, mate. On the camera too. Excellent. So he's obsessed with it. And my last question before we launch today is, why would Shakespeare want to have witches in the play? To possibly impress King James, because he now owns their theatre company. We were saying that some of the reasons women were accused of witchcraft were for being poor, elderly, etc. Childless, I think, was one as well. And we liked this word, well, I did last lesson, discord. So this sense of disorder, this sense of things not being quite right, you're going to see that that permeates the whole play, this idea of things not being right. We know that in the play, what crime happens that sends stuff crazy? Yep.
Regicide.
It is regicide. So we know there's no worries about spoilers in Macbeth. He does kill a king. So on your page there, we have our pens as well. We're taking a look at an engraving by an artist, I don't know how to pronounce his name, is it Durer? Durer. I've only come across this artist recently. This is an etching from 1500. It's called Witch Riding Backwards on a Goat. Now, before we even read anything about it, who does physics here? Oh, freaking, anyone do, you all do physics, all of you, right? Sciencey stuff. If the goat is going that way, what's weird about the witch?
She's facing the other way.
She's facing the other way. What else is weird about the witch? Can you say that louder, please?
Her hair's going the other way.
Beautiful. Notice that her hair is going the wrong way for the actual goat going this way. So, right, so technically her hair should be going this way. So straight off the bat, there's something kind of odd and weird about this etching. She's riding on a goat. We're going to read a little bit more about this. There's a lot going on here that I want to annotate. In fact, let's kick off with that first weird thing. Literally just write hair going the wrong way. Just call it out. What are you noticing about her body? Is she young or old? We're going to say she's old. To me, there's something weird though about an older body being that muscular. Okay, typically when you're an older woman, you're actually going to lose muscle. This chick looks buff. Check this. And these arms, okay? There's almost like a masculinity to her. There's almost sort of like abs in this sort of hunched over tummy. We'll read the artist blurb in just a sec, but tell me what you think this thing is. What's she holding? It is a broom. And I think it's quite interesting that there's kind of a sexuality to her, because look where that handle is going. right? It is going between her legs. So a lot of this witch stuff comes back to gender, right? Because there was, who gets tempted by the serpent in the first place, right back with biblical stuff? Eve, right? And she's, of course, the temptress. And we know that James thinks women are more likely to be seduced by the devil because of their frailty and because they're dumb. So you might want to be just circling that section. The broom has a kind of sexuality to it. Not a good sexuality though, it's a kind of a perverse sexuality, right? Things aren't, I'm going to say this, perverse. The Catholic priests and the Christian people would not have characterized, positive sexuality in this way. So witchcraft was thought to be a reversal of the natural order of things. Got to give this back to you, mate. So the hair of the witch streams out in one direction while the goat and the trail of drapery indicate the opposite direction. Okay. Even Dürer's familiar, so his initials, the bottom of your painting, the initials of AD are reversed as well. Circle that on yours now, please. The initials at the bottom of this etching are the opposite way. I believe his D is facing this way. So he's showing things are quite messed up. Okay, so the witch sits backwards on a leaping goat. Do you remember a painting from the Frankenstein unit that had a goat in it? Can anyone remember what it was?
Is it the witch's Sabbath?
It is called thank you so much, that's awesome. It's called the Witch's Sabbath. So a goat, I believe, it's a symbol of the devil or Satan. So what else are we annotating in here? She's depicted as a shrieking hag. So you'll hear the word hag in Macbeth. The witches are referred to as, at one point, the midnight hags. They're weird, they're odd, they're outcasts. She clutches one of its horns in one hand and a broomstick or spindle in the other. Her hair flies out behind her, and the stones of a hailstorm rain down towards her from the upper right-hand side, or up here. Check this. So it's a storm, or it's also some hail. So that's showing us that there's a belief that these women actually could control nature, right? Part of their weirdness and their power was to be able to control nature. So yeah, witches were believed capable of raising storms and other forms of destruction. Below her, 4 putti or putty, which refers to a cherub, disport themselves, the arrangement of their bodies forming a ring shape with the goat. The latter is a symbol of lust, so add this here. Lust for that goat as well. And was thought to embody the devil. So you've got the kids here, and in a moment I'll scroll up. Let's just annotate those kids there. So one puto carries an alchemist's pot to use as her cauldron. Awesome. So absolutely underline that word cauldron because we know that's in the play. Get this, it's here. Annotate him as well. So yes, it's a pot, but he's going to give it to the witch to put all her stuff in it to mix up a potion. Another holds a thorn apple plant. Here you have that here. Thorn apple plant. I wonder what the significance of that is. An ingredient, ooh, that's good. An ingredient with magical properties. And a third, your little guy in the front here with his bottom pointed towards the viewer, farting. I don't know, can you see the fart? Because I couldn't. Somehow magical things. Awesome. So we're going to keep going. I'm going to leave this annotation here. We're going fast. I like this. So the question we have to ask is, why does King James hate on witches so much? What's his beef with witches? Did something happen? Yes, it did. It's personal. Follow with your page there. If you need a highlighter, grab one from my pencil case. So James is going to get his new wife from Denmark in, 1589. And during the crossing, the storms are so severe that he's forced to turn back. James became convinced that this was the work of witches from North Berwick, which is up in Scotland where he's from. It's like I said to you last lesson, it's like me saying, oh, the turnip crop isn't working this year. It's Laura's fault, right? Because, it's just from last lesson. But to blame a local woman that people didn't trust for your failing crops. Likewise, he's blaming it for the crap weather on his trip. And he thinks they're intent on his ruin. There was talk at the time that one of them had sailed into the Firth of Forth, it must be a location in Scotland, on a sieve to summon the storm, thus duly proving her guilt as not only a witch, but as a would-be regicide. So King James is not only pissed that you're a witch, he's pissed that you're a witch that wants to kill him. Circle this word here. What are we talking about? Think about your kitchen at home. A sieve.
Yeah.
So what's a sieve doing? Someone describe a sieve to me. Go on, Jara.
Oh, like strains things.
Stunning. Please draw it quickly so your brain remembers it. Yeah, you're straining stuff. The modern ones will have that little thing. So they legit mean the belief was so strong that witches existed that they believed they could shapeshift, turn into animals, summon a freaking hailstorm, travel in kitchenware, right? And if we're thinking about gender, who's most likely to be using this item at the time? Women. All the girls like women. Exactly. It's considered a women's tool. That's why you don't have depictions of witches flying around on a hammer, right? Because, it just doesn't exist. That's a dude's tool, and dudes seemingly don't get possessed by the devil as much. We do know that some of them were accused. So James's hatred and obsession of witches and witchcraft became well known. It's no accident that Shakespeare brings this into Macbeth, the early 17th century. In fact, the North Berwick witch's adventure in the sieve is actually even mentioned in the play. In the opening scene of the play, which we're going to listen to in a sec, Shakespeare's first witch cries. So we're jumping straight into the play here, guys. But in a sieve, I'll thither sail, and like a rat without a tail, I'll do. So you've already got, before we start, everyone should be taking these notes, you've already got a symbolic animal that the witches are referring to themselves as. Are rats a nice animal? No, they're gross, hey. I don't want to put gross, I want a better word. What do we associate rats with? Dirty, vermin, and they're quite cunning. Dirty. They're vermin. They're lowly. They're untrustworthy. So in the play, we have a direct reference to this belief in real life, that witches can travel literally in a sieve. They are cunning, they're vindictive, they're out for revenge. Essentially, do not mess with them. And just to fact check this, I've got an image there for you because I was like, is that for real? So you have an image at the bottom of your page there of that. It was the belief that people did think they could travel in sieves. Notice as well that a broomstick, you'd call that, of course, a typically female symbol of domesticity, right? So it all comes back to gender. I love this because we're about to hear these crazy bitches, these witches